All right, all right. So today we're going to talk about the fourth stage in the process to the ocean, which is massive impact, influence, building something epic, legacy, and great. So we are in stage 4. Now we talked about the rainfall and the idea going into a puddle or a pond and then going into kind of an outlet. But now we are talking about stream. And this is where early momentum starts. This is where real traction begins. You see, the stream is where you're going to begin to start operating in flow and you're going to start gaining momentum. And that momentum is going to come through messy reps. And that is learning by doing very small things until those small things begin to build up and get the traction necessary that you need, which builds your confidence also. All right. So if you are of the creator mindset, and that is you want to show up on social media, you want to create influence, you want to create impacts, you have thoughts and ideas about starting a podcast, building courses, creating books, anything that's kind of creative, this is going to be a good episode for you. All right. So let's define reps first. It's a very common terminology that's used inside of business and the self-help culture. But reps is just simply the repetition. And that is, you think inside of the gym analogy that if you wanted to grow, if you wanted to build muscle, then it's the only thing that is going to help you is reps. You're going to have to do the reps. And that the growth is always going to be attached to reps. Now, here's the often illusion that we can somehow get the results without the reps. And what that correlates to is that I can get fruits and outcomes and the desires that I want, but I don't have to do any actions or behaviors to get them. Now, this is kind of the law of cause and effect and seed time and harvest, sowing and reaping. And you'll understand the principle that the outcome is determined by the income. The input is what matters, right? And so the output is determined by the input. The seed or the fruit that is produced is according to the thing that is planted, all right? And so there is no disconnecting our results from our reps. And so here, gaining momentum, it is going to start by reps. Now, I think some of us get that when it comes to like building muscle, like it's clearly displayed that you look at somebody who has developed muscles and you either think, man, they're taking some drugs, they're on some testosterone, they're doing some anabolic steroids or whatever, or either way, even if they did something on the side to help them, they had to do the work necessary, and that is they still had to do the reps necessary to get those kind of results, whether they had help or not, right? So you look at them and you know, well, they must have spent a lot of time in the gym. That is the logical conclusion. And or they spent a lot of time out rucking or at their home gym or lifting weights or doing whatever it is. You could just look and your brain would correlate that, wow, they have done the work necessary to look like that, right? And that's empowering in this sense because we see big companies, we see big people, we see big brands, and the system and the process is always the same. It's always going to be according to the discipline, the reps, and the knowledge and skills that is being applied inside of their life. Now, the reason why I bring this up, because sometimes we look at big businesses and maybe big personal brands, and we think of, wow, I wish I could just get the break that they had. If I could just get the break that they had, then my business would look like that. And what I want to break down is that reps are the beginning. And that is your small little actions and behaviors are the thing that produce the results inside of your life. So what gets us in stage 4 is stream, and momentum is the reps. Now, here's the crazy thing about this is that somebody can look at you. If you've been doing reps for 2 to 3 years, and the person seen you 2 to 3 years ago, and they see you now, in their mind, it's going to think instant transformation. Like I have people that haven't seen me in 3 years when I was 270 pounds, and now I'm headed to 170. They can look at me in that 3 years time and go, wow, that is kind of an instantaneous transformation. And let me tell you, there's nothing instantaneous about my physical transformation. And when it comes to my business, there is nothing instantaneous about the business transformation that I am undergoing, right? Starting out at nothing and going to creating something great, right? There's nothing instantaneous or magical about that. It is the daily disciplines and the reps that produce the results that we're looking for, all right? There is no magic pill, no magic formula. There is a fast track, but that fast track is getting connected to coaches and networks and influences and expanding your circle. There is a fast track, but there is no easy way. And that is you're going to have to do what is required. All right. So inside of early momentum, it's all about the training. And the reason why you start getting results is because you start doing habits and disciplines that produce some sort of predictability, right? I've learned this, that if I show up online consistently, if I interview people on my podcast, if I engage with people on social media and get social on social media, this leads to sales calls. And from those sales calls, this whole process that I've created a predictability of I've fleshed this thing out over and over and over again. So I'm working this kind of organic system, and it has got me predictable sales calls. And then I started working on my skills inside of my presentation, how I'm presenting my sales call and all these different things. And then I started closing people, right? And then I'm like, wow, I just need to refine to get better at this little system and this process that I'm doing so I can get more leads and so I can close more people, right? And that is, it's only repetition that has been able to produce this. And that is, I had to have the idea, I had to step outside of my little pond, I had to create an outlet that is podcasting, social media, books, groups, all of these different things. These are my outlet to create the early momentum that I experienced, okay? So this is a training ground, and that is the only way to get big, the only way to grow, the only way to take steps to the ocean is repetition. Now, inside of that, you understand that there's going to be resistance. Nothing good comes easy, right? Everything that is good requires some sort of investment. This is the reason why it has value, right? The value is what we esteem to an object, and how we esteem the object is the investment that is implied to it. You take this into like a relationship, and the reason how you know you appreciate a relationship is the investment of time, energy, resources, and attention into the thing, because you value and esteem it highly. And so thereby it grows. There's no way out of this sowing and reaping equation that if you want to grow and if you want to come big, it's only going to become time, focus, investment, and energy. And that is the piper must be paid. Bottom line, you're going to have to pay the piper. And this, I'm not talking about some evil influence or anything like that, but you are going to have to pay the price. If you want a body that looks like that, you're going to have to develop the discipline and you're going to have to pay the price to get it. If you want a business that looks a certain way, that gets clients and grows and expands, and all, you're going to have to pay the price to get it. What that looks like is there's going to be resistance. And that is, you're going to start developing the reps, and it's going to be unfamiliar. It's not going to be very fun at the beginning. Like when I was first kind of fleshing out this podcast, organic social media strategy, all these different things, like literally crickets. Like I just I was just doing these actions and behaviors, and it was not getting me anything tangible. This is all kind of the learning stages, and you're not going to get anything tangible until you bust through the resistance. But here's what I know is that when you get your first lead on social media, it feels really good. It's definitely a milestone, right? And then when you start getting on consistent calls on social media, that's another big milestone. And then when you close that one person virtually on social media, big milestone. And then you look back and you refine the systems and process. How was I able to do this? Rewatch your sales call, like all of these different things. Look at the form of communication. Where did they know you? How did this go about? Like all these different things, and begin to analyze this whole process, because you're going to want to repeat this process over and over and over again. Okay. And that is when it comes to social media, lead gen, sales calls, even service provided. Everything's a process, and everything is a process that is in writing. I'm not winging anything. I have a system that I'm working and a process that I'm doing, and I am working the system. When I get on a sales call, I'm not shooting from the hip. I have an agenda. I have a plan. I have a way that I'm leading the conversation. Like everything is a system and a process. All right. So during this time, you're busting through the resistance, you're in training, you're getting the reps, you're getting bigger and bigger, your confidence is increasing, you started your podcast and you're starting to deliver episodes, and the uncomfortable and uneasiness is kind of falling off, and you're getting reps and you're getting better and better and all these different things. Now, this is the time of consistency, because there is no recognizability without consistency. And that is the reason why I can create no like and trust factor with certain people, is because I am consistently showing up all the time. And these people they're seeing me, and they're seeing my face, and they are probably inside of my group or some way or fashion. And that is because I am consistent, I am recognizable. All right. Consistency matters more than you think. Like it or not, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what is required. I'm going to do the reps. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to have a consistent message. The tonality of the way that I show up on social media is going to be consistent. I'm a poker and I'm a prodder. You know, I imagine myself, if I was an instrument or a tool, I'd be a cattle prod. That I would apply the electricity, try the inspiration, the poking to get people off the sidelines and to begin to take action. All right. And then you get into a consistent rhythm. See, in this stage, you're going to build trust, and that trust is going to be by repetition. It's going to be by your consistency and showing up. All right. And I'd like to add this right here because it's really important, because I see people that, they're showing up on social media, but they're showing up at very low status. And that is that they're posting politics, they're posting memes, they're posting all kinds of different stuff that is unrelatable. And not that there's particularly something wrong with that kind of content, but there is if you are building a personal brand. All right. If you are a jokester and your whole theme is just jokes on your feed, then you're not going to build the personal brand that you would. All right. You have to get clear. You have to talk to a certain person. You got to show up with an agenda, with a purpose, and talk to that person. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have some sort of political commentary or that you can't have some sort of joke or whatever, but the main core in the meat of your content is with intentionality and purpose to build a brand, to create influence, and to get credibility. All right? Now, the only caveat would be is that if your mode of operation is a comedian and to get gigs and to make people laugh, then by all means, like, use your page as showing off your skills. But for everybody else that is doing a service-based offer in financial or coaching space online, or you're providing some sort of health benefit to the person or whatever it is, like, we don't have the space to just post all of this different content that doesn't hit home with people, all right? So if you want to post something funny, maybe once a week. If you want to post something political, maybe once a week. If you want to post something inside of your lifestyle, maybe a couple times a week. But make the majority of your content focused so it hits hard, so it connects to the person that you're trying to reach, okay? And your communication, your influence in this stage is going to begin to grow through the reps too. Because there's nothing that produces confidence and competence, both of those, confidence and competence, than reps. And that is, you start sharpening your skills because you are starting to flesh this thing out. And that is, there's a time that you show up, you're getting into a rhythm of your posting and how you're showing up. You're getting the refinement of your stories and your analogies. You're creating your frameworks. I have a framework for everything, all right? I have a framework for the thing that I'm communicating right now. I've built this skeleton and frame. I have an agenda. I know what I'm communicating. I have a framework for solo episodes, for interviews. I have a framework for reels that I create, for questions that I have a framework for everything, all right? And so getting down to a simple system and a framework that is repeatable, okay? Your confidence is going to come through your execution, all right? So here's some of the challenges that you're going to face during this stage, and that is inconsistency. Now, if you were one of the New Year's resolution type people and you decided to show up in January and you decided to get in shape and get fit, you would, from that desire, then you would create kind of an action plan of how you were going to accomplish that. And then you might feel an initial motivation and inspiration initially, and people usually do when they make a commitment or decide to do something. And that is, there is an initial motivation that kind of pushes them through the comfort zone and the breaking point and then cross the threshold. And so now here is what is going to cause problems. And that is a cadence and a rhythm. And that getting a too big rhythm, this is exactly what I did in my weight loss journey 3 years ago. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. I'm going to go join CrossFit. From zero to CrossFit. Yeah, I was constantly hurting myself. I wanted to quit every single day. I had the ability to do almost anything. Like, it was very defeating, discouraging. And like I said, I was constantly hurting myself. And my habit coach was like, hey, why don't you just go for a walk, man? Small, tiny, repeatable reps that can grow into something big. Start small. And so inconsistency happens because the initial commitment is way too large. I get people that, man, I want to show up and I want to do a daily podcast. And that is, I'm going to show up 5 days a week and I'm going to do this daily. And it's like, have you got the training wheels on yet? Have you jumped on the bike and pressed the pedal down and proceeded forward? Like, I understand that you want to be a BMX rider and do double, triple backflips, but have we took off the training wheels yet? It's always good to get into a weekly rhythm than it is to get into a daily rhythm. Now, the reason why I have podcasted every day since the day after Christmas is because I have established for years a weekly cadence. And so every once in a while, I'll challenge myself. I did this the year before, and I'm like, I'm going to interview 2 to 3 people every single day. So I just loaded up my calendar and just knocked out these interviews for 90 days, man. I must have interviewed hundreds of people, at least 100, right? And, I was able to do that because of the previous cadence, able to show up every single day and talk about things because I've got into a weekly rhythm. And so if I want to challenge myself to a daily rhythm, I sure can do it. I have the ability to do it because I've built up reps. And like I said, this is how I can show up every single day for this challenge that I'm on, and to begin to communicate every single day from 30 to 40 to 50 minutes, all right, because of repetition. So pick something that you could be consistent in, because if the rep is too hard, you're probably going to give up. So set an initial cadence to whatever it is. I'm going to start writing a book. Well, what is your weekly cadence for that? I'm going to start a podcast. Same question. I'm going to start blogging. What is your cadence? And predict something that you can get into a rhythm. And once you begin to get into a rhythm, then you think about increasing that rhythm. Okay? And that is, after you've got it down good, you can begin to increase. Second thing that you're going to face is early discouragement. This is, once again, the resistance. And I kind of feel like this is uniquely designed by the divine. I think there's a couple reasons for this. Is that, of course, the key to strength is resistance, and so you're going to have to bust through it. Then I think, in the hero's journey motif of facing challenges or initial enemies or obstacles and breaking through them causes you to become bigger and stronger and more confident. So I think it's highly good for your development. Those would be kind of the 2 biggest reasons. But what I've noticed is that the early discouragement is, well, I've done this for 30 days. I've done this for 90 days, or I've done this for 6 months. Like, I don't know what somebody's breakthrough moment is. Everybody's breakthrough moment is different. All right. But let me tell you, once you break through, it feels so good. It feels so good. Once you can show up, like for me personally, man, the first time that I'm like, oh my gosh, I am living this laptop life. The life that they advertise to you and try to get you to hook, that life that seems too good to be true. Like, you can have this laptop life. Right? And here I am living the laptop life. And the initial phases and the momentum of making that laptop life a reality was amazing. So once you break through, it is absolutely an amazing experience. All right. So early discouragement, you're going to bust through. People don't make it to the next stage because of early discouragement. What I'm doing is not working. What I am doing is not getting me the results that I'm looking for, or what I'm doing doesn't seem to be working as of yet. All right. There's a couple things you can do in that moment is kind of refine what it is that you're doing and see if you can tweak it and get it working a little bit better for you. But by all means, you don't give up. All right. You press through the resistance. Number 3 is noise overload. And that is when you start gaining momentum and start moving forward, there's going to be shiny objects. And that is, instead of deciding and working the initial plan that you have, you are going to be bombarded with things that come across your path and really are distractions. And that is a shiny object syndrome of here, try this thing, here, try this thing. and you're going to be kind of confused and scatterbrained. And that is just work the plan. All right. Whatever plan, cadence that you initially set, work it. And that is the reason why we can't flesh out whether something works or not, or gain a predictable system and process, because we never stick to it long enough to see if it will actually work over a period of time. Okay. It takes a lot of touch points for people to see your face, to know, like, and trust you in the process, to be able to make a transaction or a deposit with you. Okay. Takes a little bit of time to accomplish that. So don't go chasing, shiny object syndrome. Don't listen to the noise. Build the rhythm, build the habits, create a easy plan initially and work the plan. All right. Number 4 problem during this stage is comparing yourself to other people's end of life journeys. All right. Or comparing yourself to somebody who is big. And by big, I mean that somebody has created the credibility, the influence, the cash flow, the impact, hundreds of thousands of people. That would be what I would consider the ocean, right? That you're looking at people that have made it, coaches and all these different people that have made it, and you're measuring your mid journey, because right now we're at stage 4. You're measuring your mid journey according to somebody who has already kind of completed the journey. And not only have they completed the journey, but they have completed it 10 to 20 times over again through multiple different businesses, and went through this whole process over and over and over and over again with all kinds of different businesses. And so you're judging yourself by somebody who has done this a couple dozen times, and who has living the life inside of the ocean, and they're swimming with the sharks, right? And you look at that and you compare your credibility, your reach, and your impact to them. It's just not a reality. In fact, those kind of people, they really can't help you. They can help you in the sense of like, hey, this is what you can become, but they can't help you in the sense of in your journey or where you are, because you can't look at them as a model to do what they're currently doing. You can look at them as an example of what you should have done way back when, like in the journey, but you can't look at them and begin to do what they're doing. Like, so I see some of these major influencers who have, a couple dozen ventures, and they're invested in all these companies, and they get on and they start talking about politics. I would love to get to the point that whatever little endeavor that I'm passionate about, that I could just start spitting that out, right? But we don't have the luxury of doing that because we're not swimming in the ocean. We don't have the ability to do that. All right. We got to get hyper clear and hyper focused. 5 challenge during this phase is content fatigue. All right. Burning out from doing too much. Now, let me tell you the way that I navigated this and how I'm able to manage kind of 5 different channels on social media. So I have my personal, my wife's that I run. I have 2 groups that I run. I have a page that I run, and then I have another kind of account. And all of those are pushing out content every single week. So I have basically 6. And I also have a LinkedIn account. So it'd probably be even more like 7. How am I able to crank out this kind of amount of content for 7 different channels? All right, let me tell you how I'm able to do that is through podcasting. 1 podcast episode gets me the questions, the hard-hitting quotes, the reel scripts, the newsletters, the short form content, like everything, the blog articles that I put on LinkedIn, like every single thing comes from 1 piece of content. All right. And this is how you're able to mass create content at scale. If I had to come up with, let's say, example, on each of these channels, I only have 7 pieces of content. I have far more than that, okay? But let's just say I only had 7, then I would have to come up with 49 different pieces of content to be able to maximize reach on all of these different channels, okay? 49 pieces of content, that's crazy. But in reality, I have like maybe 14 kind of different pieces of content on each. And so that's 100 pieces of content. They're all coming from a single episode, long form content. This is the whole reason that the foundation of a brand rests on their long form content. Get in front of a mic, spit it, get whatever it is on the inside of you, outside of you, so you can produce this mass machine of content repurposing. Okay? Even the reels come from the video repurposing content. And if you want to do unique reels where you're just hard hitting and talking directly to the camera, those come from the script. Everything comes from your podcast. All right. All right. So we've already identified the main enemy at this stage is discouragement. And that is where the initial results are not there. The initial reps are very messy, and there tends to be a discouragement. The thing that is going to stop the flow is discouragement. How do we get discouraged? Well, pretty simple. Is we look at the download numbers and we don't feel like that's where we want to be. And so we live in the gap instead of the gain. If you're familiar with that book, you understand what I'm talking about. Is that you look at the numbers and you're not where you want to be, and thereby it creates a mood and an energy in this current moment. You give homage to the algorithm god, and you're not getting to the likes or whatever it is that you think that you should be getting, or the views or whatever it is, and you feel like discouraged and that you should give up. But let me tell you that I've worked with a lot of people throughout these years, and a lot of them had amazing reach and influence through TikTok and through some of these other channels. And they were absolutely had no cash flow, no credibility, and really no influence. They might have entertained or they might have did whatever, but they weren't able to create that influence into something tangible, right? And so numbers alone it shouldn't be the end all be all. Like when I do these lives right here, I look at the stats and I look at how long that I've captured somebody for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, how long that they survive, the people that drop off. Like the only thing that I care about is reaching those unique people that will consume a large portion of the long form contents, because I know that if I can get somebody to listen to me for 3 minutes, for 10 minutes, I know that I'm going to be able to speak to them in some way or fashion, and that credibility will be established over a period of time. I'm not looking for the people that are looking for the endorphin rush. I'm not looking to hit people's pleasure responses inside of short form content. Most of those people are looking for inspiration and some of these other things, and they're just looking for a mood shift, and they're not actually looking to create any change. Anybody who listens to long form content is a person who is investing their time and energy into something, and they're more likely to take action. So I'm going to talk to that person. And I mean, personally, I'm not going to be a dopamine dope dealer for people that just want me to tickle their brain. All right. So discouragement, supporting enemies, or the algorithm god, shiny object syndrome, all of those things. Okay. So the mindset in this is that I'm going to be an apprentice. I am learning. I'm developing skills, talents, and resources right now. The season that I am in is reps, right? That I am just about to hit my goal weight of 170. That is 100 pounds down. For this period of time, I've been in the season of strong habits, discipline, and repetition. Now, I have a plan for myself after I reach my goal weight to take me to the next level in becoming an elite athlete. But right now, I am in rep season. I know the season that I'm in. I'm not trying to be the bodybuilder. I'm not trying to be the elite athlete right now. I'm trying to get to a certain state and location, and I'm working the system and process, and I'm doing the reps. All right. Let me tell you, during this time of weight loss, there was constant different points where I wanted to give up. And that is, there were each plateaus and different things that I had to bust through the resistance. I had to learn new skills. All right. But knowing what season that you're in, you are in rep season. All right. You are in training. And it's okay to feel pain and stretching and hurting and all these different things when you're in rep season. There's all kinds of things, right? And for me, I look at it like, well, the season that I'm in right now physically is going to prepare me for the next season of discipline and reps that I'm going to undergo, right? And so that I can accomplish some of those other things because I've thoroughly established the reps in this season, all right? So who you're growing requires you to accept the season that you're in. All right. The second mindset is that I'm going to step into a flow in my creative genius and my process. I'm going to put it in the calendar and I'm going to show up and I'm going to do it consistently. And it's not going to be based upon whether I feel like it or not. Now, let me tell you, today, I just didn't feel like it. Man, I just, I've been doing this since Christmas. The day after Christmas, I started this along with the 75 hard. So I've been doing this every single day since that time. And I woke up this morning and I'm like, man, I want to do this today. But I made a commitment to myself that I was going to show up and that I was going to do this thing. I have a goal at the end of the 75 hard to have content for 7 books with 7 different themes that I want to accomplish. So I'm going to show up, I'm going to work my system, I'm going to do the plan. And even if I don't feel like it today, flow will come. If I show up, flow will eventually come. All right. So it's a schedule. It is a commitment. It's not a mood. The next mindset is don't be so consumed about data initially. Okay. The data that you should be looking at is who you are becoming, who are you reaching, how clear is your message being presented, and how can you refine that and to get better. That should be what you're looking at. Not how many likes on social media, not how many initial downloads that I'm getting, right? See, metrics, they are feedback, but at the initial stages, that feedback can be a bit discouraging. And so I wouldn't recommend initially looking at metrics, likes, downloads, some of these other things as key to success. I wouldn't. Okay. I would look at it as the refinement of who you are and who you are becoming initially. Okay. So what winning looks like is I'm going to show up in my creative genius and I'm going to get more clear on the way that I'm going to craft my message. I'm going to get stronger hooks. I'm going to get clearer stories. I'm going to get a tighter framework. I'm going to get a more inspiring presence. All right. I'm going to refine myself and my message and my services and all those different things. All right. Now, crossing over into stage 5, it looks like that you have developed reps and you can sustain those reps for a period of time. For me, I would say 8 to 12 weeks that you are starting to cross the line when you can sustain your cadence for 8 to 12 weeks. This is where often people think that a habit is formed. All right. Now, your message is getting super, super clear and repeatable. You have established your pillars and what you are about. You have fully fleshed out pain points and you know how to communicate to each one of those pain points and that you are getting consistent. I would say also the sign that you're crossing over to the next stage is that you've done this repeatedly, that the initial resistance at the beginning is kind of losing its force, and that is you don't have to force flow or inspiration. Work your system, work your plan, show up, deliver your plan. It becomes just a kind of normal process of who you are. All right. That means that you're ready to begin to scale in the sense of your influence, your credibility, and your impact, because you have a cadence and you have a system, you have a structure. All right. So the outlet is the leap out of the pond. And that outlet becomes a stream. And that stream is repetition and discipline. And the enemy isn't messy content. The enemy is discouragement that convinces you that you should stop your reps. It gets too hard or too difficult. But this is where you have to begin to press through. All right. All right. I will see you tomorrow. Peace.